All right, everyone, time for a cautionary warning to all the Democrats out there, which is that what you've seen from Joe Biden and from most of the Democrats over the last few months, they've pivoted away from the straight-up orange man bad to dealing with a general platform which really doesn't have that many planks. One of them is attack billionaires. Another one is attack racism. Non-existent racism, but, they're working with BLM and stuff. They might retire that before the election, by the way, because it's becoming a problematic lightning rod for them among certain independent blogs. Raise taxes. Biden's pledging to do that. He swears that it will only impact the rich, but we've heard this canard before, and it's never actually true. I would just point you to basically post-70s political paradigm history with the left, or liberals in general. Has there ever been an example where one of these individuals, having gotten into office, actually fulfills even some of their plans? No. You get very little. Obama campaigned on things like ending the war, which never happened. It just became more silent. Having transparent government, that never happened. He was spying on AP journos. You didn't really hear much about that because they were all terrified to report on it. They were afraid that they'd face some illegal surveillance next. Closing Gitmo never happened. Shovel ready wasn't shovel ready. The list goes on and on. Bush, he sort of ran as a stay-the-course president, and instead he ripped up the Constitution entirely almost and tried to spy on everyone's library records and start wars and stuff. It's not unique to Democrats, by the way. It's not what I'm saying. They've all been neoliberals and neocons since the 70s for the most part, with the slight exception of Reagan, who himself was only a half-ass reformer. Like, Trump has done more than Ronald Reagan already, arguably, in some respects, and it's quite funny to see him get referred to as Hitler. And Trump, his greatest strength, I think, is the ability to actually point to things that he said he'd do and then did. Like the VA reform that was within the first few months of the presidency, beginning to build the wall, including new wall. It is wall, not fence. Go ahead and debate that all day. I know that the ethno-nats out there are spicy because the wall isn't 70 feet tall and covered in crenellated towers or whatever. It doesn't have machine gun turrets on it, so somehow that doesn't count. Don't really care. He can point to these things. Tax reform. The ACA mandate getting torn out of the ACA. Attempting to get rid of the rest of the ACA and replace it with what I've always suggested, which is preconditions and extended coverage in a single bill that should be widely bipartisan. I can't imagine anyone would vote against it, especially if the ACA really is going to go kaput. I just wish that he would design that first, because I think the Democrats will definitely try to hold out. They'll try to use it as political leverage if he doesn't. He should force the Democrats to sign on to that in order to preserve the two aspects of the ACA that are actually popular. Pre-existing conditions under the ACA. Some states would protect it anyway, like my home state of Vermont has made it clear that that would remain. Some states it would go away. That would be problematic for people with health insurance in certain parts of the red state America, certainly. But Biden and the Democrats right now are loading up on promises and sloganeering that are entirely empty. Here is a prediction, and it is a guarantee. There is no chance of any alternative. If Biden is elected, and I don't think that he will, even based on the polling right now, trust me, I still have a feeling that Trump's going to get reelected. When the facade is pulled off and people see Biden for the demented hack he is at the debates, I think at that point it's the beginning of the end for his campaign. A vice presidential material aside, because of course you're not technically voting for Biden. No, I wouldn't be supposed. By the way, another prediction: some people will try to non-grassroots inject into the conversation the idea of, don't worry about the fact that Biden's fucked up because his VP will be running things. I wouldn't be surprised if the Democrats themselves are the engineers of such a concept. Actually help Biden in the long run. They'll probably do it. Here's a guarantee. When he says, well, I'm going to make sure that evil Jeff Bezos pays his fair share. Amazon's going to start paying taxes for the first time. I'm going to go after these billionaires. No, he's not. Here's a guarantee. You liberals out there, if you successfully, jerry-rig Biden into the political system, I hope you fail. But if you manage to get your boring geriatric dementia patient steward president in there, he will do goddamn nothing that is going to inconvenience these firms. Why? If he passes a tax plan, those people contribute to Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, mostly the latter, but they have a few Republicans in their pocket too. They've bought half the Senate. They control numerous governors, especially the Californian political system. They control numerous localities, certainly in that part of California where they've got all of their headquarters. They have leverage over multiple former presidents. They have ties with all sorts of advocacy and activist firms. They have undue power in the political system. It is impossible that a neoliberal like Joe Biden is going to bite the hand that's feeding the DNC. It's just not going to happen. If a tax plan is designed, it'll go after the rich, but it'll contain loopholes that allow those companies to continue offshoring, to continue protecting themselves. And one of the reasons why is actually not even malevolent in nature. It's because if you actually were to apply that kind of tax total to these companies, the U.S. would lose its tech hegemony and millions of jobs in the process, both directly and indirectly. I hate to say it, but I don't really care if these Silicon Valley firms are being sheltered from the burdensome tax rate. I think everyone else should pay the same 0% rate for the most part. Most Americans shouldn't have to pay taxes. It just goes to bombing people anyway. But that's not going to happen with Biden. Trump gave the working and middle class a broad tax cut. For the self-employed, let me tell you, for middle-class self-employed individuals like me, I saved something like $2,500 in taxes because he made a 20% offset on self-employed income, which gets a surcharge of 15%. For the first time, being self-employed is almost incentivized. And of course, you have to actually go through the rigmarole of doing all the paperwork and stuff, but it's actually, there's an incentive now to do that. Before, there was no incentive to be self-employed because the income was taxed at such a high rate. You had to make 6 figures before you drew even with the normal tax burden. You had to make 6 figures. Now there's an offset. Trump gave people tax relief if they have kids. I think he should go further. I want tax relief 2.0. I want him to double the tax credit again. I don't think it should be $2,000, $2,400, whatever it is. I think it should be like $5,000. You should make it a bottom line write-off too. Like if you have 3-4 kids, you should be able to make, $70,000, $80,000 a year and pay nothing. That's my opinion. We should incentivize making more children. They're always talking about, we've got a manpower crisis, we need more workers, and we got to bring in 1 million people to do work for us instead of, having jobs for the people that are actually represented by the government of this country. It's interesting how that is considered merciful and kind. Biden's not going to tax the billionaires. He'll tax the millionaires a little more, and I guarantee he'll tax the middle class more because one of the first things that'll happen is the Trump tax cuts will be allowed to lapse. They will go bye-bye. I'll pay $2,500, maybe $3,000, maybe $5,000 more dollars every single year. I consider that asinine. I'm not rich. I'm in the middle class. I'm managing to make headway. I suppose I'll only be making ends meet if it's Joe Biden's choice. I'll have to pay an enormous... Then he latches onto all these leftist ideas like, we're going to cancel the student loan debt because it's all burdensome and it's mean and bad and wrong and it's immoral and anti-American. No, you're not going to cancel shit. No, what would end up happening is you'd have some affirmative action style, watered down, useless program where if people conform to 10 or 20 different regulatory standards, if they disarm themselves and put on a chastity belt and get chemically castrated, they qualify for 10% student loan relief if they're a person of color or something like that. That's what they'll do. You know it. I know it, you know it, everyone fucking goddamn knows it because that's what the Democrats have always done and most Republican administrations too. They don't follow through on what they say they want to do. Trump is the only one who has. This pisses the establishment off. What you're supposed to do is during the election, you're supposed to promise the moon on a stick. And then when you actually get elected, you're supposed to say, I don't know anything about that and shuffle off and just do whatever Wall Street tells you to do. Trump has failed to do that. They think that that's the job of the U.S. president. To rubber stamp whatever a bunch of con artists decide to put on his desk. That's what they think the office of the executive is for. Trump sees it differently. He's used to leading the corporate boardroom and doing whatever the hell he wants. He's got a big ego and likes to wag his dick around. He's like Lyndon Johnson if Lyndon Johnson were a complete war pig failure. That's what Trump is. Joe Biden's a tired neoliberal. He's not going to tax the fucking billionaires. Oh yeah, I'm going to rob money from the same people that basically own me. I'm going to take all the money from evil Jeff Bezos. You know that guy who runs WAPO? Oh, you mean the outlet that most glowingly praises Joe Biden and constantly has Trump derangement syndrome? Yeah, he's going to go after that. He's going to force Jeff Bezos to dispossess himself of WAPO. Maybe they'll get bought by Fox. Do you honestly think that that's going to happen? Of course not. Trump, the reason why he's been stonewalled so much is he's actually tried to enforce the programs that he had a mandate to enforce. He had to get past parts of his own Republican Senate initially to get his fucking wall passed. He had to bandy around with a bunch of House representatives from both parties to get tax relief passed. Again, the Republicans have this problem. You hand them a mandate, they don't fucking do anything with it. You hand the Democrats a mandate, as they think that they have now, and they go off a cliff. So now Joe Biden sounds like Bernie Sanders, and this is considered the moderate platform. Wait till you see who his running mate is, because it'll be someone way further left than he is. That's about all. Peace out.